Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another of Inside the Pigskin. I'm back in my friendly confines. Really enjoyed our time in Wisconsin, but it's time to get back to work here at home. So, meanwhile, glad you can join us tonight. Well, let's go over the crew real quickly. Candy Eveling comes in. Good to have you back, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
All right, and Smoking Jeremy.
Dur.
And we got Travis Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be back.
Wait a minute. It's Travis. I love bacon, Holmes. Come on, get it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I can eat it now.
Yeah, you can eat it now. I'm not going to be allowed to eat anything for a while, and I won't get into the reasons. All I know it's going to be a very interesting 12 hours or so. So I'm going to leave it at that before I lose my straight face. Coach Bono, back in the house. What's up, Coach?
Good to see you, Scott. Thanks for having me again.
My pleasure. We love having you on, Coach. You're getting good at this broadcasting thing. I love having you on.
I don't know about good, but I'm having fun.
You're all right, Coach.
You gotta have him. He's got the best jersey in the, the Packer jersey behind him. We gotta have him.
Oh, look at that. Well, he's made enough stops to warrant those things.
Well, that's a jersey. I thought he had a shelf with moldy cheese on it.
I don't know, Jeremy. Let me get through the intros, okay, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
And, of course, K.R. Lombardi. I know you have more one-liners than politicians tell lies, Jeremy, but that's okay. You're behind me in that department, but you're getting it. K.R. Lombardi, welcome back.
Good to be here, Scott.
All right, well, tonight I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to try a little bit of a trivia question. Candy, post it up there, please. How many of you remember the show Sanford and Son? Look at that.
Come on, man.
You don't remember?
No, you got to give me a hard one.
Did you raise your hand?
Yeah.
So how many eyes have in here? We got 4 or 5. Candy, do you remember it?
I do.
Okay, of course you do, because we watch it a lot on TV Land or one of those things. Well, we have a clear majority, and when should Bo and Mel Farr get in here, they'll be asked the same thing. So here's the thing. So for all of our people out there, okay, if you can tell me that you remember Sanford and Son, we'll bring you on a future edition of Inside the Pigskin. We can talk about Sanford, and we get to talk about football. And who knows? I don't know what they had in that junkyard over there, but who knows? They might have thrown a couple of pigskins here and there. So for all you folks in the chat room, I'm challenging you out there to go out there and tell me how many you remember. And is there a favorite episode? I don't know. So one more time, Candy, put it up there. All right, that'll set the stage. So we're not in the junkyard, but we're in the studio, and we got some good stuff. I expect this show to be a very explosive one, and I'll give you a reason why. Because how many people feel that the Florida State Seminoles got screwed? Okay, and you know what? My brother-in-law, Steve Eveling, who I did invite on the show, but he respectfully declined, and I are having a not very nice talk here about, and he feels that Seminoles got hosed. So, Candy, what do you think?
I agree. Here's my. I know what their logic was. Their logic was that their quarterback got injured. They're not the same team. They're not producing at the same results, but they're still undefeated. How do you leave a team that is undefeated out compared to the Alabama team that's always got to be in there because they make more money? They're going to have more of a draw. They're more of a market. Let's face it, even our governor is threatening legislation against CFP. Not that that's going to work, but because he is. I mean, I just feel bad because what does that say to the quarterback that's injured? And what does that say to the members of that team that went undefeated, even when their quarterback went down and they had to play with another quarterback? I'm glad. And here's the thing. We can say that this is the last year that there's 4 teams and it's going to expand to 12. But what's the difference when they have 12? Who's the 13th out? Where do you draw the line? Where is it going to? I mean, I don't know. But I feel bad. I saw Florida FSU. We went to a game. I saw them play. They're a good team. I think they should be in, but that's, again, I'm not on the committee that makes decisions. So.
Okay, Jeremy.
In a way, it's a travesty. Yes, they were 12-0. But when you are a 5th or 6th seed and you're playing the 14th seed, and you beat them 14-6 in a god-awful game, and it was horrible to watch. And you see a team like Alabama go beat the number 1 seed in the country with their only loss to another team that's in the CFB automatically because they won their division. You kind of had to put Alabama ahead of them because it's the best teams. The 4 best teams is what they said they will put into the college football playoffs. They did not say the 4 teams with the best record.
Okay. All right, Travis.
I mean, welcome to the group of 5, FSU. Yes, they got hoes, but this isn't new for college football. As long as we've had style points, as long as we've had all that with the AP top 25, this has happened. I mean, just recently, we can go back in the last 5-6 years. We've had I'm a UCF graduate. I'm a UCF fan. This happened in 2017 and 2018 UCF Knights. 2 undefeated teams that got left out of the CFP. Happened to Cincinnati back in 2020. Like, these are teams who are playing, 3-4 top 25 teams and winning and going undefeated, but they're not a Power 5. So now this isn't a conversation of this isn't a conversation of is it fair or is it new? Because no, it's not fair, and no, it's not new. It's just welcome to you being being in a weaker conference, frankly, having a weak strength of schedule, because their strength of schedule was 55, and that was the argument against Cincinnati. That was the argument against UCF. So it's just basically, hey, welcome to being poor like the rest of us folk. How you like it down here?
Okay, Coach.
Man, I think that we've heard some really great points already. Did they get screwed? Is it fair? No, it's not fair. I think, that committee's got a really, really tough task. And, if Florida State would have made it in, they weren't going to make it past the first game, because any one of those teams that did make it, whether it's Michigan, Alabama, Washington, or Texas, I don't think it would even be a game. And I think, those people are tasked with, getting the 4 very best teams at the end of the year, and yeah, it stinks. Everybody's already said it, but, one of the things that football teaches us is how to handle adversity. So this is just another example of that. They've had a great season. They have a chance to go play in the New Year's Day Bowl and, finish the season undefeated, and they could do what UCF did. They could crown themselves the national champions if they win. So I don't really have any more to add, Scott. Thank you.
Well, that's good. No, I like it. I'm glad I get to comment last, although I already know what I have to say about it anyways. All right, KR.
I agree with Jeremy and John. Were they screwed? Yeah, but when you lose Jordan Travis and you got to come with Rodemaker and then your third string, let's throw the third string guy out. Rodemaker's going to come in there. They're not going to beat any of those teams that are up there ahead of them. Now their defense is lights out. They play really good. I thought Louisville is a very, very average club. And I think that I know my Florida State fans here are just livid, but they weren't going to get past the first game anyway. It doesn't matter unless they had Travis. With Travis, he's the trump card. He makes things happen like Daniels does at LSU. So could they have beaten the other 3? Maybe. I don't think so. I still think Alabama. I think Georgia is one of the better. I think Georgia's better than Michigan and Washington, but they're not going to be able to show it. And the bowl game between FSU and Georgia is going to be a joke anyway, because none of the stars are going to stick around. I mean, they're not going to. I don't think they are.
All right, before I get to my opinion, let everybody know that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on South Florida YouTube. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room is one way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, great job by Candy Ebling, is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter at Tribune South, and of course, Candy Ebling is normally behind the scenes, but she's front and center tonight. And I just released a new book called Lessons from the Microphone: Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Here's what we've got here, okay? There's no question, in my opinion, that Florida State got screwed, okay? And that's why everybody's waiting for the 12th team for next year. But I look at it this way, okay? There's no way you could leave Alabama out if they're the Southeastern Conference champions. Moreover, okay, you can't leave Texas out because they beat Alabama. So now you got them in. But here's a wild card that nobody's probably thinking about. One, okay, when you've got Washington, which is in it, you got the Seattle market, right? Correct?
Yep.
Number two, Texas, okay, what you have, and here's Mel, okay, what you have is Texas, where you get Dallas, Houston, and every market that you have conceivably possible. And then third, okay, what do you have? You've got, let's see, we got Texas, owns Texas, Washington, and then we're talking about
FSU.
Alabama, right?
Well,
and then,
FSU obviously left out. Yeah, Alabama.
Right, FSU is a small market team. But what we currently have in the tournament, the Wolverines got Metro Detroit, right? Let's break down the teams that are in it. Michigan, you've got Metro Detroit. Okay. Texas, you got the whole state. Alabama, you just have Alabama, and Washington, you have Seattle. So TV markets, but again, I do believe these are the four best teams without a doubt, and there's no question in my mind that they got it right, and it's probably not a small opinion, but Tallahassee's a smaller market, and the Jordan Travis thing isn't a factor whether we want to agree with it or not. All right, Mel, welcome back. Let's get your opinion on this, okay? And that's did the FSU Seminoles get screwed?
Yeah, sorry about that. My computer decided to upgrade.
That's okay.
I say yes, they did. And, you play the games for a reason. And those kids went out there and they did everything they're supposed to do. It's like I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. You tell your kid to get good grades in school and good things are going to happen to them. And then when the opportunities for scholarships come about, they're not offered any scholarships. And they've got, when I say good grades, I'm talking about all A's, never got a B in life. And then there's no scholarships offered. So then, as a parent, you're looking like a liar. So, this coach is told his kids, you go out there and take care of your business, good things are going to happen to you. And for, it doesn't matter. I think it's a stronger case for FSU, but the fact that they were able to win without their starting quarterback, I think that make it a stronger case. So yeah, I do believe that FSU, got the short end of the stick in this particular situation. But the networks run everything. I don't know who's on the selection committee. I think it's just a bunch of ESPN honchos up there, and looking at it and trying to determine where they're going to get the best ratings, and that's what determined who's going to play in the college playoff. But FSU is not a small school now. They're not a TCU. I mean, they've won national championships there before. I mean, they've got they're a football school. That's what they're known for. Bobby Bowden built that up, and then Jimbo Fisher won a national championship there. So I think it's very unfortunate the way I don't understand how you win a football game and you win the championship game and you go from 4 to what they went to 5. They went from 4 to 5. And then, Georgia, they go from 1 to 6. Now I can kind of understand that a little bit just because of, they weren't a champion. They weren't a conference champion. So you can't put them in front of Alabama. Then of course you can't put them in front of Texas either because Texas beat Alabama. Had Texas not beaten Alabama, this thing is a much clearer picture. But I think it's unfortunate for those kids. You go out there, it's not about the best teams right now. I don't think that's what it's about. It's about, you play the schedule, you won every game, you beat everybody that was put in front of you. You won a conference championship, you're a conference champion, you have 0 losses. 0 is better than 1. You should be ranked ahead of the schools with 1 loss. It's not about the eyeball test or what I think may happen. It's, they won, they're unblemished, they should have an opportunity to play for a championship.
Okay, now that Bo and Mel made their way in, we had a question out there that I want to make sure that they get to ask. Mel and Bo, do you remember Sanford and Son?
Yeah.
What about you, Bo?
It's been a while, but yeah.
What's that?
I said it's been a while.
But do you remember them? Did you used to watch their programs?
Yeah, I remember watching it. I really couldn't tell you much about it at this point.
You don't need to. I just want to know if you knew about it. Mel, we know you know because.
Oh,
All right.
It's one of my favorites.
We got 7 panelists, or all 8 of us know Sanford and Son. There you go. All right.
I think that says more about the age in the group than.
Exactly. That's why I put it on there. So that's good stuff. Yeah. Well, I like to mess around a little bit here. So, what the heck? We're going to do a lot of fun things on this show. And I just thought Sanford and Son was a good opportunity because of an idea I got over the weekend up there. What do you want? What's up, Jeremy?
My buddy Eric Sean commented on my video on the profile that it's streaming to, and he said his favorite episode was Gorilla Cookies for Christmas.
Oh, well, my favorite episode was when Aunt Esther and Fred got locked together with those handcuffs. Oh, that was a good one.
And Esther made the cookies that looked like her, and Fred called them Gorilla Cookies.
Yeah, well, he always had a lot of nice things to say. But I loved it when those two had those Chinese wrist locks and they were stuck together. So it was pretty good. We all had. So now we have everybody in this room here on this show remembers Sanford and Son. Oh, Nelly. All right. So now we all got to talk about it. All right, let's talk about another story over the weekend. Did Jim Harbaugh get the last laugh over the Big Ten by being able to beat Iowa? They won all 3, and then they ended up winning this. So, all right, Candy, we'll start off with you.
Did he get the last laugh over the Big Ten? I mean, he proved a point. He proved a point that he can coach during the season. He can coach regular season. Did he coach those last 3 games? No, but he coached every minute up until the actual game. So you can't tell me he didn't devise the schemes. He didn't coach them and get them prepared. That's what a good coach does. And a good coach also has coaches underneath them that can step in his shoes and do run the schemes that he tells them to. And so did he get the last laugh? Sure. But is the NCAA going to get a laugh yet at his expense? Yet to be determined.
One thing about you, Candy, you are like I am. You've been around me too long. Anybody that knows you knows it well. Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. The only last laugh he gets is Big Ten can't do anything else to him. He served that 3-game suspension, and that's it. They can't do anything. That said, I'll segue over to Jeremy.
Of course he got the last laugh. He got to look the commissioner in the face as he handed him the trophy. I mean, how much of a slap in the face is that? And on top of that, and you're exactly right, Candy, he got to coach every second up to the game. The only guy that was costed anything on Michigan was J.J. McCarthy was costed the Heisman. Because you know what they did? They hit him for 3 weeks. He attempted 25 passes in 3 games. So that took him out of the Heisman race because he wasn't doing anything. And that's also why Ohio State was not prepared for that passing onslaught that went on around the Blake Corum rushing attack.
Jeremy, I got to tell you, do make some good points on this one before I turn over to Travis. Yeah, I don't think J.J. McCarthy's worried about the Heisman Trophy anyways. He wants a national championship is all he wants. And nobody can sit here and tell me the Heisman Trophy is a ticket to having a great career. How many of them that didn't win it had a good career? And I'll set Travis Holmes. Yeah. Right.
I mean, right. Yes. Unfortunately, I mean, I think this is a very, very easy and very clear answer on this. I mean, he absolutely got the last laugh, but he was always going to get the last laugh because this was always going to be a slap on the wrist. We've talked about this for a few weeks, if not a few months at this point. Well, over a month at this point. Is the NCAA originally in the preseason, we'll call it negotiations, wanted more than 3 game, more than a 3-game suspension before they went through this whole witch hunt process and then ended up getting a 3-game basically suspension. Like this was always just going to be the maximum of what they were going to be able to get out of this guy for whatever they ended up, pretending the issue was. So at the end of all of it, this was the worst it was going to get. This is basically the equivalent of Donald Sterling or Dan Snyder or whoever having to sell their team and I guess they'll just only be billionaires and still famous and rich. Like that's the worst that can happen to him. So that's his slap on the wrist, and that's the most that they can do to him, and his life's still probably incredible.
All right, Coach.
You're exactly right, Travis. And I think, look, Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten. It behooves the Big Ten for them to make it into the playoffs, right? I mean, if Michigan loses to Iowa, then, we're talking the Big Ten's not represented in the playoffs, right? So in terms of who gets the last laugh, I mean, the whole thing's it's going to be one of the, it's a sad chapter in football history, but, his team rallied, they rallied under Sharon Moore. I'm going to brag on my guy again. He was on my staff at Central Michigan, and, they're in the playoffs as the number 1 seed. So there you go. The bigger last laugh, I think, from the weekend in the championship rounds was probably Texas with the Big 12 as they go into the playoffs as a Big 12 participant, but leaving the conference to go to the SEC. So that's probably a bigger last laugh.
Okay, let's go to the chat room real quickly before we turn over to KR Lombardia. Okay. And we got Feather Firebird. Good evening, Feather. Good to have you on. And the next one we have on here is Butch Davis. Florida State got Rob Bland. So, by the way, Butch, you'll be on speed dial. You're going to be bringing down next few weeks or so once I get settled back in routine. So, you and I and George Acorn, who's off for the night on another assignment. Butch, I haven't forgotten about you. I definitely haven't forgotten about you. And Jeremy Baldrick hasn't either, right, Jeremy?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, KR Lombardia.
I think he did have the last laugh because he got the award. He got the trophy from the commissioner. But I think this jury's still out what they're going to do to him. I'm sure there's going to be some heavier investigation going on. And I agree with John. I mean, they had to beat Iowa. I mean, Iowa couldn't. This is a coaching term we use, and John will appreciate that. Iowa could score against air, but not against a stiff wind. And they're terrible on offense. They are horrible. I'm surprised that they're that bad on offense. But they're not even the second best team in the Big Ten. So it's good they're going to do away with divisions. Everybody's going to do away with them. So, but let's see what happens with Harbaugh, unless he goes to the NFL.
Right. Okay. All right, Mel. Turn over to you.
Yeah, I don't know about a last laugh. They're still, the NCAA is still investigating him for that alleged sign stealing thing, and there could still be something, some sort of punishment that comes down the pipeline. He was still, I think Candy alluded to it, that he was able to be with his players right up until the time the game started. So he was still coaching the team. He just wasn't able to be on the sidelines, and I think that's I think that's huge. Now, obviously, not having him on the sidelines is a big deal as well, but him being able to participate in the game planning and also go through the practices and be with them in the hotel the day before the game and all that, travel with them. I think that's big too. But I think they were very confident. I think this team is on a mission from last year. They have a real sour taste in their mouth from their disappointing performance when they played TCU last year. And I think these guys are on a mission. I think Blake Corum came back for one reason only. Obviously, he didn't get an opportunity to play in the Big Ten championship game last year. I think he might have tried to go for a minute, or was it against Ohio State that he tried to play for a minute? I think it was with that leg injury that he had. But he wanted an opportunity to be a part of, not just be a part of, but be that guy in a Big Ten championship, and also see if he can take his team to the promised land and win a national title. So I think Jim Harbaugh knew this team was loaded. So I don't necessarily think it was a slap in the face. I just think he already knew, and it actually motivated their team to go out there and perform for their coach. And that's, as a coach, I mean, I think that says a lot about the program that he's built and the love they have for one another. The love, obviously that he has for his players, and the love and respect that his players have for him, that they'd want to go out there and perform at their best in his absence. So I don't necessarily look at it as a last laugh, but I just look at it as, I think this team is destined to do some special things in the playoffs.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Mel there. I don't know that he necessarily had the last laugh. He obviously gets the feel-good moment of getting the trophy from the commissioner, right? But beyond that, NCAA is absolutely looking further into it. Now, the thing that helps him out is the college football playoff said that this whole thing is a NCAA problem, so they don't care about it, which is how they're still in the playoff to begin with. But, whether or not he has the last laugh, that'll really come next year on whether or not he gets suspended. Obviously they've been talking about potentially suspending him for the entire season. And then at the other end, if he goes to the NFL, say he wins the national title and he goes to move on, the NFL actually alluded to the fact that they may try and uphold any suspension that the NCAA wants to levy against him. And that'll be interesting to see how that potentially works, because that would be a unprecedented type of thing. I would imagine that then there would be some lawyers involved to figure that out.
Right. Good points, Bo. They really are. I mean, there's a lot of TVDs connected to this whole thing. I think he did, to some extent, get the last laugh because, you know what, as you guys have alluded to, that he had a chance to look the commissioner in his face. I did it without you. Michigan's rallied around the Michigan versus everybody thing. We know that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, okay, Michigan versus everybody. But you got to remember, this is a very veteran-laden team. They have a lot of, 4-year players, coach, I think. And they have a lot of guys that, I don't know if they're transfer portal or seniors that transfer over to get their play 1 year. So this is a very experienced team that's on a mission. I do want to reach out before we go on to our next topic, though. Today's a special day in our family. My dad has turned, it's his birthday today, and I want to wish my dad a very happy birthday and looking forward to seeing you hopefully later on this week. Dad, I love you very much. To me, you are a guy that I will always love no matter what, and I'm glad I still have you. And a lot of the lessons from the microphone stories have my dad's name written all over them. So, glad you're alive, and there's more memories to come. All right. So, Dad, we love you. So, all right. With that said, okay, there you go. Happy birthday, Mr. Morgan-Roth, for the whole world to see. Okay. Somebody had to put this crazy character up, and Mickey Morgan-Roth definitely managed to be the one that had a lot to do with this, to say the least.
And right. Scott, if you don't mind, can I just make one small comment before you transition to the next subject?
Absolutely.
Bo, to your point about the lawyers being involved with the coaching issue as far as any suspension levied down by the NCAA, the NFL did change some of their bylaws for incoming freshmen as far as if they get into trouble with something in the NCAA, they can actually enact that suspension for the league. We had that conversation on one of the previous shows where we talked about that and how that will be problematic, or how do they implement that. So I'm assuming it's that same change, probably just is also related to coaching. But that was a weird thing when they implemented it, because the players at the time would not be in the CBA. They're not a negotiating party, but it will be the same thing with the coaches, it would seem.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, though, is as I recall, there wasn't any verbiage that includes anything other than players. So it'd be kind of a, you'd have to implement it specific for this, which is why I say lawyers would probably get involved. The other thing, that we had talked about before, it was in place. It was something that kind of weirdly got agreed upon. Still don't really know how they would enact it overall. But as I recall, there wasn't any verbiage that includes coaching staffs or anything like that. So that's where it gets a little bit muddy.
Understood.
All right. Well, I'll reach out to Joe Denham Joe, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. You will be invited on a future edition of Inside the Pigskin. So we'd love to have you on and be able to have you on. And you know what? We appreciate the kind words coming from everybody. Oh, Feather, you're a sweetheart. Dad, if you're watching, great. If you're not, hey, you're certainly on everybody's mindset tonight.
Yeah,
Right.
That's great. That's my mom wishing your dad happy birthday.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Feather Freebird. Goodness, thank you very much. Okay, very nice. Okay. And you know, Dad, there's another one for you. Happy birthday from Mel Farr Jr. This guy may not be a superstar dealer, but he's a superstar broadcaster. There you go. That's his motto these days. So. All right. Well, let's stay over to Ohio State because when you lose that game, it has some repercussions, as Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord has found out, as he has entered the transfer portal. As I understand, he says 17 death threats. Wouldn't it be amazing if he landed at Michigan? If not, well, he can welcome to come to Miami because Tyler Van Dyke is in the transfer portal. All right, Candy, your arms are up in there. So what do you want to say?
Well, because you're the commentary, you're not supposed to start with it. You're supposed to let us go with it.
All right, go ahead. All right.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Michigan won, number one, McCarthy goes on his way, goes into, they're saying he would go, they're predicting number 9th if he'd go. There's a chance that the Packers would draft him, believe it or not. And then CJ Stroud can transfer into Michigan and win a title there.
You're talking about the quarterback at Ohio State, you mean? Not CJ Stroud.
Kyle McCord.
You mean
That's
Kyle
CJ,
McCord.
yes.
Yeah, CJ,
Yes.
I don't think he wants to go to Michigan.
No, he doesn't want to go back.
No, Candy, we do
My
let
mistake.
Candy, we do let the commentator speak as long as we have the right name. Just kidding.
Oh,
Shots fired.
Can you
that's
imagine
okay.
what-
I'll take him.
And can you imagine what goes on like in this all sports household? And tonight we welcome Bucky and Boots back from their cage over at the Vets. And boy, they are rare to come at us tomorrow.
But what it does say is it tells me that there is something going on at Ohio State, why he doesn't want to stay. And it makes me really wonder if it's coaching, if it's what coach, if he's been told anything about the bowl game, whether he will start or not start. It begs the question is what's going on, because there's more to this story that we don't know at this point.
The only thing we do know is he got 17 death threats, and that's enough to say I'm out of here. All right, Jeremy.
Then you steal my thunder too.
Oh, you know what happens? I steal everybody's thunder. The one thing that can't be forgotten here is great minds think alike. Okay, that's all I have to
That's
say.
the biggest thing. Ohio State fans are as rabid a fan base as any other college football team. And the fans, 17 of them, gave death threats to Kyle McCord. We also don't know what they're doing with coaching, but more than likely, seeing how the 7 other guys have joined the transfer portal, and Ryan Day cannot beat his daddy, Jim Harbaugh. So they had decided, I'm not staying here with Ryan Day. I'd rather have Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline is one of the hottest offensive coordinators in college football right now, and he's probably going to get poached away from Ohio State because Ryan Day's staying.
Okay, well, Travis?
Well, yeah. I mean, per all the reports that I've seen so far, it seems that they had a conversation, Ryan Day and McCord, after the game, but before, McCord stated publicly that he was entering himself in the transfer portal, and apparently he just couldn't get the assurances that he needed that he was going to be the starting quarterback, the following season. It's not to say that, Day asked him to leave, or just the not giving an answer is sometimes just as bad as as actually giving a negative answer. You can ask my wife that. If she asks me, do you love me, and I'm silent, that's probably just as big as a problem as me saying no. So he gave him all the opportunities, and with all the questions that were asked from the media. Hey, is he going to be starting in the bowl game? We're going to compete and see how that's going to act, or between their actual private meeting and then the public assurances that he wasn't given, and the man did what he's going to have to do, for his future. Again, there was an early season competition between McCord and what was it, Devin? Goodness gracious, I forget his name, Devin Brown. the redshirt freshman quarterback that they have. So there's quite possible that they were just going to. McCord didn't feel comfortable, and also Ryan Day's. Now we can say that his words from that press conference probably hold a little bit more weight when he says, "I really do think that McCord is a good quarterback. I really do." And well, are you saying you don't do good quarterbacks? You only do great quarterbacks at Ohio State? Like, what is there any more weight to that? Because we don't know the conversations they have behind the scenes, or during practice and things of that nature. So maybe he just really wanted to get to that next great Ohio State quarterback.
Okay, Coach.
I think, Travis, you nailed it. I think my question is, why do you leave Ohio State? Why would you leave Michigan? Why would you leave any of the top elite tier programs in the country if you're playing? The answer would be if you're not going to play anymore. I think this comes down to style of play and what they want from the quarterback position at Ohio State. When you look at how this kid, which he is a quality player. I don't want to, let's not mince words. He's a good player, but he's not what I would necessarily call mobile. He's not a really mobile quarterback. And mobile quarterbacks give defenses fits. You look at the four players that are in the championship games. Every one of those quarterbacks, you might not categorize them as runners, but they are mobile. They can extend plays. They can make plays with their legs, when they need to. And he's not that guy. Compare him to the last two Ohio State quarterbacks. They're in the NFL, C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields. He doesn't measure up with those guys from a mobility standpoint. So I think, to Travis's point, look, Ryan Day, right or wrong, I think he's won a lot of games at Ohio State, but the bottom line is the game that matters, the Michigan game, he's lost 3 in a row. So he's on the hot seat. They're probably looking at somebody that has a little bit more of those, skill sets, and there isn't room for this kid. And, he did a good job this year. He wants to go someplace where he can continue to be the starter and pursue his dreams. So I think it's as simple as that. I think you have to give Ryan Day some credit for being honest with the kid, being upfront with him, and, allowing him to make a decision that's best for him. And, as far as Brian Hartline, he's not going anywhere. He's an Ohio State guy. I coach Brian in Miami. He's a great up and comer. I think he's there for a while. And I don't see an open job right now because they're filling up fast that would lure him away from staying at his alma mater as the offensive coordinator. That's my 2 cents.
Well,
He should go to that better blue and maize and blue team.
Yeah, your 2 cents carried a lot on this one. I like that, Coach. All right, turn over to KR.
I agree with John. I think that their backups probably they probably have 4 or 5 stars behind him that they're more mobile. And I think if you talk, and John can probably get deeper in this than I can, is when you line up and spread, you want a quarterback that can run a little bit. He doesn't have to necessarily be a great runner, but he's got to be mobile. And I think that's even in the NFL now. And I think this guy isn't as mobile. And I'm not at practice every day. I guess their backups are probably ready to step up and take that on. They're probably just younger. And I think Brian Day probably said, you need to move on because this offense, we want it to change and we want a mobile quarterback. That's my guess. But what I'm concerned about, I'm not concerned because I could care less about Ohio State, is the other 6 players that are leaving.
How you really feel.
I really don't care about us. I'm not a big thing. I'm an SEC guy, but I just don't see why that many people can be leaving a program like that. That's just a little scary. I know it's fun.
I don't mean to interrupt, but look, I was on 24/7 today. It's portal season. It's happening all across the country. Every team. But it is surprising. There are a few programs. That's not the topic that have very few guys, but nearly everybody's got multiple players.
I don't like this portal garbage. I don't. I'm sorry. It just ruined college football to me.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the portal thing at all. I truly don't. And if you look at it, it's like musical chairs. I mean, okay, the song is playing, everybody's trying to find their seat now. Everybody, hey, let's switch. Everybody's running around trying to find a new program. And you look at the first ones that hit the portal, it's the quarterbacks. I mean, all the quarterbacks, they're not happy. I mean, and the problem is they're coddled. You got to go out there and compete. Nobody wants to compete. I wasn't I never went to Coach Donahue and asked him, hey, Coach, am I going to be the starter next year? I just went out there and competed. And then when the dust settled, I look up there in the board. I was number one. I was starting. These guys don't want to compete. They want to be given everything. And that's why the quarterback play is so bad at the next level, because these guys are not competing at this level. They're moving around, going places, developing bad habits, never fixing those habits, not really learning how to read defenses, maybe just learning how to look at half the field and, the other half of the field, not really learning and understanding the game of football, understanding that football is really a numbers game, looking at the numbers, understanding protection, understanding how to protect yourself with the protection. These guys don't want to do that. They just don't want to be given stuff. So, it's every program. UCLA, their quarterback. I mean, when he played, the freshman from Michigan, the last game he played, I mean, he was already gone. You could see his mind was gone. His body was just waiting for his body to catch up. He was out there flat-footed, just standing, looked very disinterested. I said, I know this guy's leaving the transfer portal. He's getting out of there. But I don't like the transfer portal. I really think it's bad. No, and every program has them. Hell, Alabama's got a kid that's leaving, a wide receiver. He's been there 3 or 4 years, caught a handful of balls, and he wants to leave because he wants to go somewhere and play. More power to you if that's what you want to do. But there's something to be said about the relationships that you forge with these guys. The things that you go through to prepare yourself to play out there in every Saturday, and you're doing it with these guys. You have a common bond, something that's going to last you beyond the football field. And if you just constantly transferring from program to program to program, you really never get to develop those deep bonds with your teammates. And that's something I'm extremely thankful for. Now, I don't know, I might have transferred too after my first year. I was threatening to leave out of there too because I wasn't happy. I don't think there's a freshman that goes to college is not happy when he goes there, because you all come from somewhere being that guy, being the horse that pulled the buggy, to all of a sudden you're just a guy. And, but you think you're that guy still, and you're not getting the playing time that you think you deserve. And I don't think there's a freshman out there that doesn't want to transfer out. Maybe after my sophomore year, I might have wanted to transfer too. I don't know. I'm glad the transfer portal wasn't there. I'm glad my parents, my dad was like, hey, you're going to finish what you start and all that. And, Travis, my grandfather said, when you get that question posed to you by your wife, my grandfather said my grandmother would ask him that question, do you love me? And he said, look, I answered that question the day we got married. If anything changes, I'll let you know. I don't know if that's going to get you in more trouble or less trouble.
No, that's funny.
That was his answer.
Yeah, that is
it depends on the day.
It's not going to go well.
All right, Bo, that sets you up really well, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the transfer portal, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it. All of a sudden, it feels a lot more NBA-ish, where you're unhappy and you're just going to force your way out no matter what. But when it comes to Ohio State, it makes sense that they would want to build around one of the kids that's going to be there a little bit longer, because Michigan is going to lose half their team this year, right? They're going to graduate, and they're going to go. A bunch of them are going to go to the NFL. Then you look at the teams that are coming in. A lot of their quarterbacks are leaving. So if you can build your program right now, you have a head start on the other programs that are doing well this year. So I kind of understand some of that. And then wanting to transfer out, yeah, if you're being told, hey, we're moving on from you, you got to make a decision. And if it's a situation where you can compete for the job, then yeah, try and stay and compete. But if you were given you're not going to be our guy, yeah, I'm hitting the transfer portal.
Well, I will say this about Michigan. What I was impressed with the work that Sharon Moore did in Harbaugh's absence, number one. Number two, okay, Tyler Van Dyke of the Miami Hurricanes entered the transfer portal. And, just hypothetically, you never know whether Mario Cristobal will reach out to Kyle McCord say, hey, we got a spot here. We have Emory Williams as well. Come on down here. So I've seen a lot of crazier things happen when you have the transfer portal, but those are some interesting things that we'll monitor as time goes on. All right, let's go on to our lone NFL topic, one Travis Holmes is all too familiar with. We know that Trevor Lawrence suffered an ankle injury. So does this hamper their playoff chances? Because here's the thing. I hear that he's rehabbing around the clock to try to get ready. All right, Candy, we'll keep the order going again. Go ahead. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence and his injury situation?
From what I've read, it's a high ankle sprain.
Okay.
And he's young. He's not, let's face it, as we age, trying to get over injuries is harder. But he's young yet. So I think because it's a high ankle sprain, I don't think it's as serious. At least I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. And the fact that he's getting round the clock treatments, he's getting the best treatments. Let's face it. Aaron Rodgers was talking about at one point coming back out of his serious injury because the NFL has such good rehab and they have doctors that can, make them do the miraculous things. So
they got drugs.
That too. That too.
Yes, they do.
But I don't think it hampers their ability because I think he has enough of a team around him that as long as some of his other players stay healthy, and now I know somebody else went down, that makes a difference too. But I think I should have prepped for this subject because I would have looked to see what their schedule is the rest of the year to see.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out.
Okay.
So
that might help.
Their next game's the Browns. Then they have the Ravens, the Bucks, the Panthers. So there's a win, and the Titans.
Okay, so a little bit of in rivalry and stuff like that.
Good job, Bo. I know I can count on you.
I really don't think it'll hamper them, but that's my personal opinion because I think he still is mobile enough to get around, and I think he has the weapons around him that he doesn't lose a lot by having a little less mobility.
Okay, Smoking.
Well, a high ankle sprain, they say, is harder to heal than a broken ankle because it's above the ankle, and that's what all those muscles right there is what holds those three bones together. So when it can be a minimum of 5 weeks up to 8 weeks to heal, and that's because you got ligaments, tendons, muscles, all that structure gets affected with a high ankle sprain. You're talking to a guy that's had both ankles injured at one point or another in his life, so I know all about this stuff. It very well could hurt them because there are teams that are close enough on their heels that could overtake them over the next few weeks. And then it makes that last week be a must-win situation or they might not get in.
All right, let me point something out about ankle injuries because I've experienced a lot. And then I'll turn over to Travis, okay? Many years ago on Christmas Day, I was skiing, by the way, over at Magic Mountain in Londonderry, Vermont. I was doing really good, picked up on my lessons good. The last run of the day, I got hurt, okay? And I got really hurt. Suffered torn ligaments in my left ankle, and it has happened to be on the same day that Billy Martin died. Okay, so every time I need to go out there, remember the year of that situation, I go back to Billy Martin. Oh, that's when I wrecked up my ankle. Let me tell you, torn, whether it's a high ankle sprain or ligament damage to that ankle, they take forever to heal. I wish it would have been a straight break instead of what I had to deal with, because anytime you deal with muscles and all that, it takes a lot longer to go ahead and heal. So I completely know where you're coming. Smoking, and we'll turn it over to Travis Holmes. Just do me a favor, Travis. Don't go skiing on Christmas Day, man. It's not a good omen.
Hey, man, you don't have to worry about me going skiing now. I mean, the only thing you have to worry about me is snowboarding, so it's fine. Okay. I'm cooler. I'm cooler than a skier, you know. But no, man, it doesn't hurt the Jaguars' chances of making the playoffs. Like if you're talking about the Jaguars' chances of winning the AFC South, now that's a totally different conversation. But because the AFC South legitimately has three teams that could potentially make the playoffs right now, it's changing the game a little bit. So to both point earlier, the next 5 games: Browns, Ravens, Bucks, Panthers, and Titans. Like, I don't think there's anybody in this group right now that would say that the Panthers are going to beat the Jaguars if Trevor Lawrence is able to play in 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks at this point. So we really are saying, can the Jaguars win 1 game out of those remaining 4 games? That's the real question that we're really asking. Because for the New York Times interactive playoff simulator, the Jaguars have a 96 to 99% chance of making the playoffs if they win 2 of the next 5 games. That's what we're talking about. So can they go 1-4 in those other 4 games, including the last game of the season against the Titans? Yeah, I think they can do that. I don't have any doubt there. So the fact that it is a high ankle sprain, the same injury Pat Mahomes had in the playoffs last year, and Trevor can get 3-4 weeks to rest it up. Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
Okay, we'll turn over to Coach.
Yeah, I think the Jags will be in the playoffs. To Travis's point, does it hurt their chances of winning the division? Yes. It absolutely. I hate to see any player get hurt. I'm a big fan of Trevor Lawrence. Back to when he started as a freshman at Clemson. So always, broke my heart to see him. To see him go down that way. I think my biggest issue, really, outside of the quarterback with the Jags, is I see them as a little bit of an up and down team right now. They lost last night, and granted they didn't finish the game with Trevor Lawrence, but they lost to a team that's 500. That's just fighting to stay above water. That is playing with the backup quarterback, and I think that they got beat in some areas, in a lot of areas in that game. And that's what, that was with some maybe suspect decision-making from the Bengals. I look at their first 2 drives, they go for it on 4th and 3 from midfield, give the Jags a short field, and then they attempt a 57-yard field goal on their second drive and give them the ball at midfield again. So, you're playing with your backup quarterback, giving the team, giving the Jaguars field position like that. I don't know if I would have made that decision, but they won the game. So I just pray and hope and pray for him and all the Jaguar faithful out there that he can make it back and healthy and finish out the season.
KR?
I think they'll make the playoffs without a doubt. I think I think people are underestimating Browning. Remember, Peterson's a pretty good quarterback coach. And Browning went in there and looked like he had been there all year. They interviewed him at the end of the game, and he was cool as a cucumber. I got to give credit for that. I think that he's going to step up a little bit, and you watch. He may be pretty damn good. So I think they make the playoffs anyway. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a tough kid, and he'll come back soon as he can. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I have the utmost confidence in Doug Peterson.
He's a great quarterback coach.
Yeah, well, he's pretty good head coach, but more so a quarterback.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that he's stepping in, working with his young quarterback like that.
No doubt about it. Okay, Mel?
No, I think he's in familiar territory. They had the same situation. Carson Wentz, and then Nick Foles came in there. So this is not foreign territory for him. I don't think that it drastically hurts their chances. Maybe hurts their chances to win the division. Maybe if Trevor Lawrence misses any time, as everybody's alluded to, he is young. I remember twisting my ankle first day of spring ball outside at midnight playing basketball, landing on somebody's foot. Can't exactly tell the coaches I was playing basketball at midnight. Said I fell down some stairs or something like that, tripped on the stairs, and Ducky Drake, he's like, "Were you drinking?" I was like, "I don't even drink." He's an athletic trainer, but I still practiced because I had to. I didn't get hurt on the field, so I was out there limping around doing what I had to do, and I had a bad. I watched something with Isaiah Thomas or Michael Jordan where they got a trash can, filled it up with ice and water, and that's what I did. Stuck my foot in that ice and water and prayed for the best, and just tried to do what I could do. But I played that whole year on that bum ankle, and then had surgery the year after. But I certainly couldn't tell him I hurt myself playing basketball. and he's a young kid, and it looked real bad. Maybe it looked a little worse than what it really was. Maybe after 24 hours, it feels a little bit better. Can't say I've ever had a high ankle sprain, so I don't know exactly how that feels. But with a high ankle sprain, I would think that there's not much more damage that you can do to it,
Right.
and you can probably medicate that pretty good to a point where he can get out there. I mean, he's not the most mobile quarterback, but he is mobile. He is able to extend plays. But like Patrick Mahomes, what he did in the Super Bowl, he was able to move around enough to protect himself. That's what you want him to be able to do, protect himself. The rush gets there, he can't get out the way, then just fall down and let's live for another day. But that right arm is something special, and I think he wants to try to keep his streak going as far as number of starts. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. I think he's probably going to do a Willis Reed, and I think he'll probably start this coming Saturday. This coming Sunday. To be honest with you,
they haven't ruled him out yet, which is crazy.
Great comparison to Willis Reed. All right, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to tape it up a lot and see if he can do it. The big thing, obviously, is he mobile enough to get out of harm's way, and does it take anything off the ball, right? Obviously, that can be an issue too. So, I mean, is he going to want to play? Sure. Does it hurt their ability to get to the playoffs if he doesn't? Probably not. Where they are now, they're in. Do they win the division? Maybe not, right? That division is far more competitive than we all thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season. So, they may not win the division, but they definitely could. They definitely will still get in, right? They finished the season with a couple of cupcake games. So I would say that probably isn't a problem. But, yeah, it'll just be whether or not he can move around effectively, and if it hurts enough that he can't get quite enough zip on the ball, because obviously if you're throwing picks, that's a problem.
All right. I really hadn't planned on any parting shots, but if anybody wants one, I'll be more than happy to give them the opportunity. And then after that, I'll let everybody know how they get all of you. So anybody out there, I'll start with Jeremy. I know you obviously asked me earlier. What do you got?
Well, with Aleem McNeil hitting the IR for Detroit Lions, they went ahead and signed veteran defensive tackle Tyson Alalu, who is a 12-year vet with 25 sacks and a former top 10 pick that basically did nothing. But it's a nice vet move for the team.
Enough. Anybody else?
I thought there was only
I love some Tyson Alu, sir.
Former Jag.
Yes, a former Jaguar, former Pittsburgh Steeler. Never played up to his draft potential, but he was always a really solid player, man. I'm happy to see him land somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay. KR, you have something?
Yeah, I thought there was only 6 Ohio State. I thought I read this morning. I'm looking now, there's 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I named them all off just before the show.
12. That's amazing.
That's a lot. Okay. Anybody else want to add one real quick?
Yeah, just kind of a weird quarterbacks getting hurt season is going into week 14 here. There's going to be 12 backup quarterbacks playing.
Wow. That's pretty good stuff. And again, Bo,
that's great for fantasy.
Great stat, Bo. Thanks for bringing that. All right. Well, you know what?
I got one for you, Scott. Let's all make sure we tune in this weekend and watch the great game, Army Navy. Go Army, beat Navy.
Well, you know what, Coach? That's now that you mentioned it's a bucket list item. Great stuff.
And I'll add this one last thing since we already mentioned it earlier, talking about the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence and him not being ruled out yet. If Trevor Lawrence takes that field against the doggone Cleveland Browns defense, everybody in that front office need to be fired. I'm just saying it now.
Amen.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, remember, Travis, you know who the defensive coordinator is, don't you?
Jim Schwartz.
Exactly. Yeah, he's one of the best in the business.
No doubt.
Hey man, I said what I said. Exactly.
It's football.
Trevor Lawrence takes that field.
It's football. It's football, man. The kid's gonna want to play. I mean,
Absolutely.
Oh no, he's gonna want to play just like he wanted to walk off the field instead of taking the cart the other field. And everybody in the national media is talking about that. Where Jaguars don't have a cart in Jacksonville. Everybody has a cart in Jacksonville. Like whatever, man. Hey, the kid's gonna want to do what he's want to do, and the adults gotta be the adults.
The kid, man,
That
he
man
wanted to
takes
walk
that
off
field,
the
they gotta
field the
fire
same
him.
way he got on the field, man. He walked on the field. Let me walk off the field. They got plenty of time. I've had that situation before, you know.
Right.
When a guy put a helmet in my back and broke my back, and was like, "Hey, you want to get the cart?" No, man. I walked on the field. Let me walk off. Just give me a minute to get my breath. I'm gonna walk off. But just give me a minute. Don't
Look
rush
at
me.
it. We got players. We got coaches. It don't get any better than that. Cart, no cart. Okay.
Plus, you know, my folks were in the stands or watching on TV. I don't want them to see me. You know, if I can walk, I'm gonna walk. You know, that's what he was thinking. You know, he's got his family somewhere, his wife. You know, hey, if I can walk, I'm gonna walk. They don't need to see me on a cart. That's not what they need to do.
There's a very real difference between walking out and waving on your way out than riding with thumbs up.
Yeah, but still, I mean, either way, I mean, I walked out there. Let me walk off. That's the way I put it. But just give me a minute to catch my breath because I was having a hard time getting air at that time.
You know what, though, Bo, I can really appreciate your thumbs up moment when I was at the game where Mike Utley got hurt. So and I was.
My brother scored his only touchdown on that play.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I was at that game and it was tough to watch, but when I used to talk to Mike on the sidelines, he's a class act. All right. But that said, I'm glad we got all those things out there. The show will last when we're done. So we're going to, Candy, anything you want to add? Or do I have to hear it later?
I just want kudos to the Packers because pre-game Sunday night, not one of the analysts gave them a chance. They said all Kansas City Chiefs, but yet look who won the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one of us gave them a chance. And you know, I will say this here: there's something to say about giving a guy an opportunity to sit and learn and develop. You know, we've seen Jordan Love play a few times over the few years when Aaron Rodgers was hurt, and it didn't look so good. Man, he was dealing. He looked good. You know, there used to be a time where rookies would come in, they would sit. Now, if you're a number 1 through 10 draft pick, or it doesn't even matter, you're number 1 draft pick at the quarterback position. They're trying to hurry you out in the field. And sometimes, you know, I think about the kid, you know, the poor kid there at San Francisco, man. They just tried to rush him out there. The guy wasn't ready, man. He wasn't ready. He didn't have enough college snaps underneath his belt. Didn't have enough pro snaps underneath his belt. Lance just wasn't ready, and you know, and now he may never get the opportunity because they were in such a hurry to get him out there, and it's unfortunate. But you look what they did with this kid here. They took their time. He sat on the bench for 3 years, just like Aaron Rodgers did. Aaron sat on the bench for 3 years. That worked out pretty well for him. This kid sat on the bench for 3 years, and he looks really good. So I think, you know, these owners need to evaluate, you know, look at this again, where they're just so quick to just throw these kids on the trash heap. You know, the Wilson kid out there at the Jets. I mean, we all look at him and say, man, this guy's garbage, man. It's just unfortunate because he just got thrust out there, you know, and he didn't have an opportunity to learn. Let the veteran guys hang around a little bit, teach these guys the ropes, teach them how to look at film, teach them about the numbers, teach them protection so they can protect themselves. That's some of the biggest problem that these guys have is being able to protect themselves. You got to know, you know, where your trouble is, and then you got to know where your outlet is when that trouble comes. And if these kids don't understand that, the first thing they want to do is bail and start running and rely on their athleticism. You know, that can only last for so long.
I agree.
Hey, you know, one thing I do want to put up there, and you know what, your mom is as sharp as they get. I love this. We got to put this thing up. I'll put it up. Army and Navy and the family, we win no matter what. God love you, feather free bird. That's great.
One of my buddies from Sideline Sports commented on the show, and he said, "How many good backups are playing this weekend? That's the real question." And then Trevor will be holding a clipboard next to Deshaun Watson, and maybe they will share coloring pages.
Oh man.
Okay. All right. Well, with that said, now everybody gets an opportunity to see how we get a hold of you. You know what, Candy? I'm going to let you do ours. I'm not going to say it. You go ahead and talk about our information.
Okay, so if you like this show, there's a red subscribe button in the corner. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know why and what you're waiting for, but please do it as soon as possible. Like, share us, tell everybody about it, because why not? We have all kinds of programming on our station. We have baseball, we have football, we have one-on-one interviews, we have Sports Exchange where we talk about all the different sports. We have Pundits Pundit where we come at you with some interesting topics, and we have any show that you want, we have it. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have media releases by the Jags, by the Dolphins, by the Lions. We get a lot of college stuff, FSU. I'm sure we're going to be posting up some interesting things from them. We have college football playoffs. We have up there. We have, you name it, it's up there. The Marlins, if you're into baseball. But both guys that I'm sitting in between, Scott and Jeremy, both write for South Florida Tribune. So go check their articles out. Go check my photography. I've taken some pictures over the years, some good, some even better than that. Go check those out. If you like podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. You can always email us ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Scott's got a book. You can see it up in the corner by Jeremy. Lessons from the Microphone. It's available on Kindle or Amazon. Get your copy today. And it's the season for giving, so you can buy it for gifts for all your friends and family.
See, there's no way I can do better than that. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, as Candy mentioned, I do write for the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading. And yes, if it wasn't for those Lions transcripts, I probably wouldn't write as good as I do about the Lions. That being said, you could also find me right here on the South Florida Tribune on the Inside the Pigskin show, Fire Up on Thursdays, and wherever else Scott may need me. You can also find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, where I go live 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And if you want to talk football, get a hold of me. You can find me there at Smokin' Jeremy on Twitter or X.
Okay. All right. Travis, go ahead.
All right. Travis D. Holmes on all the socials, whether it's Twitter, X, your mama's Twitter, Facebook, Threads, you name it, all of them. You can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on BigCatCountry.com. You can find me here every week. Every week they'll allow me to keep saying these outrageous things about my wife on Tuesdays at 8:15 at night. You can also find me if you're looking for any Jacksonville Jaguars podcasts. We have a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast that airs on Fridays at 11 a.m. It's the Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast. That's actually the name. And again, that's wherever you get your podcasts. And also on the Pro Sports Fans app, the PSF app, we do a live stream of the Jacksonville Jaguars games. Just talking, getting live reactions, things of that nature. Thanks for having me, gentlemen and ladies.
Go ahead. Ralph Williams will be back in action with Jeremy and Candy on Thursday night. Go ahead.
Am I up?
Go ahead.
Am I up?
You're up, Coach.
You're up.
You can find me. You can find me right here or on LinkedIn and on no other type of social media because I'm not on it. I don't.
Okay, not the worst. Hey, you're on with us. You're on LinkedIn. Not so bad. We'll take your expertise.
You can follow my wife, Paulette Bonamigo. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. She's on all of it. So I live vicariously through her.
Well, that's okay. You live real well with us, so we're proud to have you on, Coach. You've been a great addition to what we're doing, and we enjoy having you on every week and every time you're on. It's a blessing that you're on. All right, KR.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Okay. Mel?
Find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. That's like it says there. Follow what we have going on here in Georgia and in Michigan for the youth at melfarr.org.
And last but not least, Bo.
Yeah, so you can find me right here every Tuesday night, and of course on my channel at Football-Talk, all the socials at Football Talk with Bo. I got to jump out of here, guys. I got another show I got to get to. Great to see you all. Sorry I was late.
Oh, sorry. We'll see you next week, Bo. Have a great show.
See you Thursday.
You bet.
You know it.
And now there are 8, but not for much longer. Okay. But anyways, I want to thank everybody in the chat room for their participation. And go ahead, Jeremy. You're giving me some signals.
I'm like 8. I see 7.
Well, yeah, you do, don't you? Oh, well, maybe there's a reason why my vision isn't very good. Why I have 4 eyes instead of 2, but that's okay. All right, well, there you go. All right, well, I'm glad he addressed it. Let me tell you, if that's the worst thing I've messed up all night, so be it. Okay.
It was funny. I
don't mind your sense of humor, Ulrich. I'm used to it, so it's all good. So meanwhile, as I said, and look at this, okay? JB Ellis. We need to get that. We aren't ending this until this guy got in there. JB Ellis, great to meet you. All right, FSU got job. Horrible decision. Love it, man. JB Ellis. We'll be connecting tomorrow on tomorrow night's edition of the Sports Exchange. And also, what we also do is Candy's working on their website as well. We have a lot of great partners in store that we've had this year. I can't wait to talk about a lot of the new additions and things that we're actually going to be doing.
Now I got a question for JB Ellis and everybody who says they got a job. What of these 4 teams is that team beating if they played next week? That's the answer to your question.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because the CFB put it out there. When they put this thing together, they said they were going to lose. The best 4 teams.
Not everybody's going to win. So, I mean, that shouldn't even factor into the equation.
I mean, as long as the CFP has always had, style points. Sorry, I know the show is over, but if style points exist, then it has to have a real conversation of a team that averaged 38.6 points a game, now averaging 15 points a game for the last 2 games. That's a conversation piece. I'm sorry.
Michigan didn't score that many points, did they? How many points did they score? That wasn't.
How many points did Iowa score?
It wasn't very pretty.
Didn't need to be pretty. They beat them by 26.
Okay, that's my point. It doesn't need to be pretty.
Oh, I was just saying they beat him by more points than Michigan won by. That's more points than FSU scores. Like, again, that FSU offense is averaging 15 points a game with these backup quarterbacks. That's bad. That's hard offense to watch.
Iowa wasn't averaging that many points.
I was not in the playoff.
I understand they were in the Big Ten championship, though. I mean,
there you go.
Oklahoma State was in the Pac-12 or in the Big 12 championship.
I mean, there's different ways to win football games, right?
They have 2 if you count their first string quarterback and their second string quarterback. FSU has 2 losses.
It's funny, Mel. I actually agree with your overall point. I do. I'm a defensive guy. I lean defense. It's just, hey, man, at the end of the day, this was ugly football to watch, and I have to be able to say that there is a huge gulf between a Zach Wilson-led, New York Jets and the Baltimore and the old Baltimore Ravens offense. Those aren't the same, but both are defensive-led teams.
You're not.
I can't get JB Ellis's next comment. We'll keep this show going on if we keep getting this kind of. Everybody know we won't mention you can only beat who you play.
There you go. JB's got it. You can only beat who you play. That's it.
Yeah, that's UCF. That's UCF's argument for 2017 and 2018 and Cincinnati's argument in 2020.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about
playing.
Wait, and let's face it, these schedules are set in advance, years in advance. So you can only beat who you're playing is true, and your season is set.
They beat 2 SEC schools, right? 2 or 3.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Schedule better.
Was it 2 or 3 SEC schools they beat?
Florida State schedule.
They beat 2 or 3. They beat 2 SEC schools, right? They beat LSU, and we know they beat Florida. Was there another one scheduled in there too?
I got you. I'm just saying FSU publicly eligible. Yeah. FSU publicly said that they were too big. Right? I'm just saying FSU publicly said that they were too good or too big to be in the ACC.
They beat Clemson.
Right?
They beat Clemson.
They're in the ACC
now.
That was their point. It was like a posturing. It was like a negotiations thing. They publicly said that they're too big to be in the conference that they're in, and now they don't get into the CFP. Well, what is that saying? All right, maybe you should be in a different conference. Maybe you were right. Welcome to the group. Welcome to the group of 5. Now you got the same complaint that UCF had for all those years. You got the same complaint that Cincinnati had in 2020.
I was waiting for that.
I'm a UCF guy, so y'all can't bring this conversation to me. An undefeated conference champion that went undefeated not 1 but 2 years straight. and got screwed both years. Oh yeah. Y'all want to complain? Go ahead. Let me hear. Let me hear. I love those tears. Yeah, I'm just hearing it.
Well, what year was it that Auburn went undefeated? Didn't even get in.
Ooh,
Right.
Auburn went undefeated.
There and didn't the Big 12 add their conference championship like 5-6 years ago because they had two teams go undefeated and neither one of them got to go because they didn't have a conference championship.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well,
So technically speaking, the committee is being consistent because at least their argument against those teams, the arguments against the Liberty, the argument against UCF in all those years and Cincinnati was always that they had a weak strength of schedule.
They do,
even though they won. Well, FSU has the weakest strength of schedule of all the teams we're talking about.
That Clemson was down and that Florida was down. And LSU didn't play very well.
There are a group of 5 teams out there that have harder strength of schedules than a 55. I'm sorry, I'm just keeping it 100. Like that's real.
All right.
Are you talking about the Cincinnati team that got smoked in the Sugar Bowl by Florida and Tebow had like a career game against them?
Hey man, I'm not a Cincinnati. I'm not a Cincinnati fan. I'm just telling you that's what it was. Whether or not they belong, we get teams that get smoked all the time. Like
Liberty's going to get crushed unless Bo Nix doesn't play.
All right. Well, you know what? I want Candy to go out there and read JB Ellis's latest quote, and we'll keep this thing going long. I don't care.
Yeah.
Easiest fix years ago. 6-team playoff, 5 power conference winners, best group of 5 team, and there it is. 12 is horrible. 4 leads to this, and the committee sent out the North Carolina State guy to explain how FSU shouldn't be.
Okay,
well, why is 12 too many?
Well, hold on, Travis. Let Candy read this next one, okay?
No, not at all, because then Georgia would have made it because they had 2 SEC teams previously when the SEC 1 seed lost to the 2 seed.
There's 16 in 1AA or whatever they call it now, in Division 2 and Division 3. There's 16 teams, so.
Right. I don't understand the problem.
You know how
because they're trying to figure out how to deal with all the money. That's the problem.
I love the idea of the 12-team playoff because now that it's a Power 4 conferences, because the Pac-12 is the Pac-2, so you got to eliminate them from making it. So you only got 4 conferences. Those 4 conference winners, they will be 1 through 4 seeded. The other 8 teams can do their playoff by seeding to face the other 4 teams.
Well, good points all around. That's all I could say. We'll see. We'll see where the conversations lead to next week.
Well, next year is going to be a problem with who's going to get the 4 buys because the first top 4 can get a buy, and they're going to be
the conference champions.
Contention to
be conference champions.
The conference champions. They get the buy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Power 4 conference champions. So Big 12, SEC, ACC, and Big 10.
I mean, this is gonna feel like March Madness. I'm a fan. I mean, or the NFL playoffs. Like that's the only issue.
Is the Alabama Invitational.
The only issue I have with this is the fact that the kids aren't being paid. That's it. Everything else is dope.
I love Saban's answer. Why did y'all get in the playoffs? He said money and walked away.
It's the Alabama Invitational. That's what it is.
Did he donate 25% of his money to the CFB board?
All right. Well, you know what? We can debate this subject all day long, and I'm glad we extended the show as JBL has sent us one haymaker after another. Good job, JB. Proud of you. Looking forward to having you on tomorrow night's edition of the Sports Exchange. But I love it when we get haymakers and we can keep it going. I really do. It's all about football. It's about interaction, education, inform, and entertain. And I think that's what this show more than accomplished with the amount of time that we allotted for. We had it all. Parting shots, and then JB Ellis comes in at the end, way downtown, bang. And you guys are all biting on the steak here with him. Good stuff. Love the show. Enjoyed the camaraderie. And guess what? We get to do it next Tuesday night. So with that said, on behalf of Candy Ebling, Smoking Jeremy Ballerick, Travis Sherlock Holmes, because I will call you Sherlock Holmes. Okay, we'll talk about Central Florida U.S. stuff another time. Okay, because we are rivals, but that's okay. We're still teammates here. Coach John Montemego, always a pleasure to have you on. KR Lombardia, we bring you on when we're stacked heavy with college. And Mel Farr Jr., we just simply bring you on, and you've come a long way. So with that said, on behalf of Candy Ebling, Jeremy Ballerick, Travis Holmes, John Bonamago, Coach John Bonamago, K.R. Lombardia, Mel Farr Jr., Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Manwell. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Tuesday night.